Cavalier faithful, it's not looking good in Cleveland. We got 3 games left in the regular season. Cavaliers dropped 3 straight games this past week, and there's a lot to be concerned about, a lot to talk about. We're going to cover it in today's episode. We don't expect to go long because honestly, I don't have the energy for it right now. This has been a really letdown of a week. No Jeffrey today. Justin's alongside me. This is your Tuesday, Monday. It's Monday that we're recording this trio for Cavs Encapsulated. And Justin, this week we've talked about this Cavaliers team all season. Every single week it feels like, okay, they look like a potential Eastern Conference contender. Another week we look like a first round exit. And some weeks we look even worse than that. And I can surely say that this past week, we didn't look like a team that's ready to compete in the playoffs. We look like a team that's ready to stumble on in and kind of pull it out of our butt. So I want your thoughts because to me, I thought this week was just a little bit extra painful.
Yeah, I mean, all three of those teams that you lose to are Western Conference playoff teams and teams
Yep.
that are fighting for positioning, especially the Lakers. And yeah, I mean, it's tough to lose those type of games just because you'd like to. I didn't think the Clippers would be the game that we could have picked up on, but the way that we had it going into the fourth and everything, it's just unfortunate that we had the collapse that we did, and so. Obviously, the Lakers, kind of a blowout game. Suns game, kind of a blowout game. And again, Mitchell hurt, hobbling. Don't really know what's going to be the game plan with him moving forward with his injuries. But obviously, we're going to, like you said, limp into the playoffs and kind of have this. We're going to have a reset because if you play like you have been in the last
Bye bye.
the last so many weeks now, you'll definitely be a first round exit. And the two worst case scenarios are it's just facing the same team twice. It's either being the fourth seed and matching up against the Knicks, or being the fifth seed and matching up against the Knicks.
Yeah.
So any way you can avoid that is going to be absolutely necessary. We're going to be watching the standings game by game, but the Cavs kind of finishing off with an easier part of the schedule. I believe the Knicks are also finishing off with kind of an easy schedule, but Orlando is finishing off with like a pretty tough schedule. So maybe the Knicks slide into 3, we slide into 4, and Magic slide into 5, which is something that I'm hoping for. We get a
Sure.
Cavs Magic matchup, I guess, but we'll see. It's been rough, like you said, though.
Justin, we've been standings watching all year, and
Yeah.
I tell you what, this last week is we're going to put an emphasis on it for sure. To me, the whole Julius Randle injury definitely makes the Knicks a little bit more capable of beating, I suppose, but it's just never a good matchup for the Cavaliers. And I still have PTSD from last year. For me, I'm less worried about the matchup at this point. I'm just hoping this Cavaliers team can show me something. And we're going to talk about these 3 games. You'd mentioned that Clippers game, and we'll get to the Clippers game later, but I really want to put a little point out there. I was not watching until towards the end of the third quarter. We're up 26 points. I turn it on, and I wish I never did. The Cavaliers did not finish that game well. But let's go back in time real quick because I want to get to the Clippers in a second. The Suns game. Cavaliers start out well. I kind of feel like that's been the story of the season. We can start out a game okay, and then it just seems like things get lost and guys get lost. Guys start falling apart. The big key right now is Donovan Mitchell's health. You mentioned it at the top of the podcast. Is he ever going to be right? I personally don't think so. But that Suns game, it was over before it even started. Right, Justin?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, again, one of these teams where they're fighting for playoff positioning on the West side, and they're a team who have a bunch of stars, just like we have a bunch of stars. And it seems like a lot of these teams that do have the 3 to 4, I would say we have 4 stars. But again, Phoenix has 3 stars that they manage very, very well, and a roster full of kind of like not nobodies, but guys that don't really pop out at you, and they still end up getting towards the second half of the game and are just continuously outplaying us. And I think a lot of that just goes to coaching. I think a lot of these teams make adjustments against us, and that's why we come out strong. We play well in the first 2 quarters maybe, and then things just kind of fall apart because I don't think JB really fixes the problems that he sees like creeping into the offense, or the defense is starting to crumble around certain plays
In-game
that they're
adjustments. In-game
yeah
adjustments. We've been talking about it. We've been hampering about it. Everybody wants to sit there and say, this team is fine. This team is good. Look at us now. I'm sorry. And I know I'm angry. I know I look like I had a long day at work and all that jazz. And yeah, I'm exhausted. I'm kind of pissed off, to be quite frank, because I sat here and we said from the beginning, me, you, and Jeffrey said, we think this team has good bones. We think it has the right pieces. We think it has the right tools. But there is concerns with this basketball team. And I think in that Suns game, when I don't see adjustments, and the thing about the Suns, right? They got Bradley Beal, they got Kevin Durant, they got Devin Booker, they have apparently Bol Bol to go off against the Cavaliers. Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, he didn't even play in that game. My issue is this season, our two best, most consistent players, and I'm going to say it, I'm going to sound crazy, have been Max Strus and Jarrett Allen. And I'm not talking, Donovan Mitchell. I talk about your best ability is your availability. We've talked about it a million times. Mitchell's been special. Obviously, lately he's battling quite an injury that doesn't just heal overnight, and people need to understand that. He's not just going to pull this out of his butt, and that's what we all hope. And maybe it does, but that would be what would happen in this frickin' season, as the Cavaliers pull it out of their butt. But that Suns game, what I noticed is it's not Garland, it's not Mitchell, it's frickin' Strus, it's frickin' Allen. That's the most consistent players for the whole season on our team, not our two top names. And I don't know, Justin. I know I totally interrupted you and started going off on a tangent, but I think that Suns game bugged me, especially in that third quarter. They make a fantastic run. We're back in it. We're ready to roll. JB, for some reason, changes up the lineup. We go back down 21. I don't understand it. Ride it when it's working. Pull the plug if it's not. I just don't think he has the capability to make that choice. But I don't know. Okay, back to you. I'm sorry.
No, and I mean, if you look at a lot of the things that during these 3 game stretch, and especially the last game with the Clippers, the drawing up plays coming out of timeouts and kind of just not knowing the situation is really just baffling to me. Like Karis LeVert, I don't know how many times I've got to talk about him on this and just like get into ripping him, because like for the 1 or 2 meaningless like games that he plays well in and we might get a win, like again, his impact is so minimal that it's one of those things where I'm just like, yeah, I don't care if like he has 11 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists in 1 game and we win, because I know when it matters, he's gonna either give me goose eggs or he's gonna fumble the bag at the end of the game, like he did last game. And like again, just baffling shot choices. And for some reason, I just don't know why this team continues to like believe in him the way that they do. And I know like they were kind of forced into signing him, but at the same time, it's like, again, you give him a lot of leeway, and he's a guy that's got to go next year.
Let's jump to that Clippers game. I know there's a Lakers game in between, but to be quite frank,
we really don't got to talk about that. D'Lo went nuts.
No, and the Cavaliers, it's been the story of this season. They've been they've won the most, I think the second most games by 3 points or less. That can be a good thing. That can be a bad thing. To me, I think it's a good thing to know that they can pull it out. But if you look at a lot of those games, the Cavaliers are in close games because they all of a sudden let some run go by or something crazy. And that brings us to the Clippers game, no doubt about it. 80 points in the first half, season high. Fantastic. Great. Awesome. And it wasn't that we blew the 26-point lead. You know what it was for me? It was that, Cavs, I need you to win this game. You were the 3 seed at the time. You win this game, you're a game back of Milwaukee, who is trying to give us the 2nd seed right now.
Yeah, they're trying.
And you have the Knicks and the Magic, both a half game back going into this game. You come out and you start beating the crap out of the Clippers, and I'm like, good. Like, they answered the bell. A big game, had to have it. Oh, no. What is Paul George doing? And suddenly we're down, and the way this team finishes games is so freaking concerning for a game that will be in the playoffs. To close out a team. You know how hard it is to close out a team in the playoffs? Not even for a full game. I'm talking for just a quarter, or not for a full series. I mean, for 1 game. To get 1 game in the playoffs is tough. We found that out last year. And I just get the feeling this Cavaliers team is struggling to rise to the occasion when they need to. And yes, I know that one person that or the 80 people that are going to come at me are going to say, "Oh, we went 18-2 in 20 games. Great." Like, dude, you got, if we dwell on the past of the season, we're never going to take that next step. The concerning part, I was talking to buddy Tyler the other day, and he said, the Hawks don't have a bad roster and they're bad, but the difference is that they're bad because of their injuries. What's concerning about us is, sure, we've had injuries, but why are we bad when we're at full strength? Isn't that super concerning as a fan of this basketball team that when we're at full strength, coming out of the All-Star break, going into it 18-2, we're not going to make any moves at the deadline because we don't need to. You should have. We said that over and over. The best teams do make moves. And I don't know, Justin. I'm angry today. I just really am.
Mhm.
And the playoffs are coming, and I pray to God that they just pull something out of their butt and, just tickle my fancy for a second. But they have not been a fun team to watch in the second half. They just haven't. The fact that I don't know, I don't even know what the number is, like 11-15 or something. It's bad. We're under 500 since the All-Star break. The fact that we still had a chance to nab the second seed out of nowhere, rose to the occasion for one half, and then collapsed, fell on our ass. It's just that's what concerns me more than blowing a 26-point lead.
It just makes me upset about dropping games like the Hornets game early on 2 weeks ago, where those are games that you look back now, and that's like a game that you drop these 3 games on the road against
Yeah.
good
Yeah,
good
good team.
Western teams.
Good teams.
It's less egregious, but we're in this position now, and again, there are plenty of those games in the last 2 months where the Cavs have really needed to just pick them up, and like you said, Logan, no one's really risen to the occasion. So, it's going to be tough going into the playoffs, and the next 3 games. I think you need to pick up all 3 of them, but at the same time, like if you're watching, I definitely want to pick up the Pacers game the most.
Yeah, I
Just
got
so
to see
you can
that.
get like a little bit of competition going and seeing what that's going to be like. But you know, again, I'm not opposed to like watching the standings and playing to the standing strengths, because if you have any way to avoid the Knicks, go for it.
Yeah.
I'd rather have any other matchup at this point. So
Yeah, I don't have the virtual aids like Jeffrey does. He always brings up the standings, brings up the schedule, brings up our predictions board and all that stuff. This episode is more just about, boy, I'm concerned. That's all
yeah,
I can really say. I mean, Cavs sit at 46-33. There's 3 games left in the season. We're going to predict those in a moment. But Justin, you're saying in the last 3 games, you're going to be standings watching more than anything. Because at this point, it's too late. Am I wrong? To
I mean, if
figure
Dean
this
Wade's
out?
gonna make a return, I'd want to watch that. But like,
Yeah,
I
sure.
don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on there. The injuries after the All Star break have been just more baffling than like upsetting to me. Just because,
Yeah.
again, Dean Wade, we heard it was like the birth of his kid, and then it's his knee or something,
Yeah. What
and
is it?
then Donovan, like, did he get hurt during All Star weekend? Is that what happened? Like, I'm so confused about what that knee was, and then obviously, he
Differing
gets a
reports.
nasal fracture. But
Yeah.
again, it's just like been a baffling season, and like you said, maybe they fail upwards somehow, and like they
Right.
win a series. Winning a series would be great. I still think that at the end of the season, JB's got to be a goner, unless somehow he like truly fails his way up and second round wins as well and gets us to the finals. But don't see that happening. Don't
Don't.
see a blind squirrel finding a nut twice in the same year. So
Yeah. It's just, I don't think we're going back to full strength. And there's my definition of full strength is full strength. Like,
yeah,
it's not Donovan Mitchell coming back with knee tendonitis and struggling, and I'm the injury excuse. Shut up. Just stop with it. I'm tired of it. Everyone battles injuries. Everyone has to figure it out. But like I said, the biggest issue with this team is that at full strength, we have not looked good this season. I mean, we just simply have not. And it's disappointing because coming into the season, I think we had a lot of high hopes. I think we
yeah,
thought we addressed a lot of problems, a lot of concerns. We didn't address the issue at the top at head coach with JB Bickerstaff. Prime pop when we're down 2 guys. But when this team's at full strength, rotations, you have to figure it out. You have to be right. I don't know. I don't have anything else to say. I don't know about you, Justin. We've talked about this off air. When we get ready for these shows lately, we've been saying, what else is there to talk about, right, with this team? We've said enough. We've bitched enough. We've complained enough. And we're just waiting for the playoffs to start. But now I'm sitting here like, I want to play 500 ball. I said last week. I said, just finish 500. I don't care. Well, to do that, we got to win all 3 this week. So let's get into predictions. We're going to start with the Grizzlies, Wednesday the 10th. I do not have our predictions up. I'm pretty sure. Has Jeffrey locked it up at this point, Justin?
I'm pretty sure he locked it up this week for sure.
It was a 1-2 week for yours truly. A really bad season for me. And, makes sense because the Cavaliers struggled. So did I. Cavs hosting the Grizzlies. Justin, who you got?
I'm going to take the Cavs. Again, this is a failing Grizzlies team this year. You have to pick these games up. You have to pick these games up. I mean, you have to pick this one up because the next one is the Pacers. And as much as I'm going to say Cavs, again, I just think that the likelihood of picking that game up is going to be much tougher if we're still just dawdling around. So
100%. Yeah, Grizzlies game, last week I wasn't on the show and I texted you guys win-win loss, but I could see us getting 3 L's, and sure enough, we got 3 L's. I haven't been confident in picking this team all season, and it shows in the report card. And I would look at these last 3 games and think, yeah, let's grab 3 and go to the playoffs. Let's do it. Like this, we'll get us some momentum surely going in. I'll give us the win against the Grizzlies. I say we drop to the Pacers. And that's going to be a really disappointing one because that could be a potential playoff opponent. We're not going to know, honestly, till like the last day is the way this has been feeling like. Where the hell the Cavaliers going to finish? Somewhere between 3 to 5, I think, is your safe bet. But and then that takes us to Sunday the 14th, the final game of what has been an exhausting NBA season, a season that has had its high moments, but a lot more low moments. It finishes at 1:00. Cavaliers hosting the Hornets. Justin, your final prediction of the year?
Yeah, it's going to be a Cavs win, and got to get that again. Just an absolute necessity at this point.
I agree.
I wonder if they again, and that's dependent on how the rest of the those first 2 games go. I wonder if there's a chance they rest people, but at the same time, who knows? They probably won't chance it.
Yeah, I will take the Cavaliers over the Hornets, and that will set us up in the playoffs with a matchup that, there's something, okay, as negative as I have been all podcast, I'm going to say I'm actually really excited to the playoffs because what if this team did just shut me up? What if this team did just show up and show out? I don't see it happening right now, but these last 3 games, like you said, Justin, not a lot to take away from it. Because I said last week when we had our Western Conference road trip coming up, I said it is an opportunity for the Cavaliers to try to build some momentum going, into the playoffs. And obviously, they didn't quite work out the way I planned. I would think, honestly, it's crazy. We were 1 win away from me being on this podcast and having a better outlook. We beat the Clippers and don't blow a 26-point lead. I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, like we came out of the other end all right. And, obviously, that's not what happened. So this Cavaliers team continues to baffle us. Far more questions than answers. And is it safe to say this? I want to finish with this segment right here, Justin. Are we going to get all of our answers after this playoff series this year?
Well, you're going to have a really busy summer. Obviously, I think there's going to be a change with head coach. And again, I think that change is going to probably happen quicker than most things because I think they'll want to get Donovan's input if he's going to stay.
Can you rely on that though? Can you rely on him?
I mean, you have to bank on it, right?
Yeah, try. Yeah.
Because why? What else would you do? Go out and get someone that like he doesn't, recommend. And again, who knows if the opinion in the building is that he likes the core players and that he thinks that hey, we need a better coach. Then hey, they can go and find a better coach than JB Bickerstaff. That's not the issue. The issue is the commitment from Donovan, which again, I don't know how soon the extension can happen, but like the soonest it's available, it needs to happen.
I agree. I tell you what, this Cavaliers team, I've said it and I'll say it again. JB Bickerstaff is a good coach for a young team. He can get guys playing time. They can figure out their role, who they are in the NBA. He's a fantastic assistant coach on many a teams. I just think for a team taking that next step, you need a vet. You need a guy who's been there, a guy that can figure out rotations and make in-game adjustments. The in-game adjustments are atrocious, and I am so curious to see what I do believe down the stretch here, despite Mitchell's injury, I still think JB, until maybe the Hornets game, might still be playing like a shorter rotation, see what we're actually going to look like going into the playoffs. You have to have a couple of dress rehearsals. We wanted a dress rehearsal at full strength, at full go, and we're not going to get one of those. I just don't think we are. I think we're going to attempt to. We're going to see what we got, what we can do. We know who should play, and I think JB does too, but it has to come together. We're out of time. There's 3 games left, so it's not really worth. I'm not going to think anything of these games other than them for what they are. They're a basketball game. I'd like to win it, and that's about it. The playoffs are around the corner, folks. Like I said, this can all change. And I apologize for the way I've acted so far in the podcast. It's not happy times in Cleveland right now, but there is the excitement and the fact that this Cavaliers team is going to be tested and tested big time. And I think the solace I find, the peace I find with this season is that come this playoff series, I will know my answers to a lot of questions that I've been asking myself before the season, questions I asked myself after an 18-2 stretch, questions I've asked myself at night, for the last 2 weeks, like how good is this basketball team? We'll find all of that out come playoff time. Justin, your final thoughts?
Just got to go out and get these next 3 games and hope for favorable matchups, I guess.
I guess so, right? At the end of the day, guys, all Cavs fans, we love our Cavs. We're rooting for them. It's been a very frustrating couple of weeks, and I think people can argue with us and argue with me because I've been the one that's real been on their crap, today. But understand that this is not what we envisioned. Obviously, we didn't envision these injuries. You can't envision these injuries. You can't envision fit issues. You can't envision rotation issues. But these are things we've been hampering on all season, and they're coming to the light right now. And we just have to hope that JB's better at making playoff adjustments than in regular season in-game adjustments. So with that being said, we'll keep it short tonight. We're going to let you all go and get back to your day. Understand, these Cavaliers, the playoffs are here. It all comes down to this. I'm excited for that. I really am. I think this regular season just needs to be over. Like I said, senioritis, right? It's hit. I want to get out of there. I want to get out in the sunshine. I want to go see what this team can do. Let's test ourselves. The Cavaliers have a ginormous test coming forth. But with that being said, we appreciate you guys all. We appreciate you being the pulse of it all.